Hello! Today we're gonna learn a little bit about defer loops. So what is a defer loop? Defer loop is a function that Reaper provides that we use it to schedule to run a certain function in the future. We use this basically for running scripts on the background. So the basic concept is instead of just running the script and ending it, we are going to run a script, and this script will schedule to on the future Reaper run a certain function, and on that function we ask Reaper to in the future run this function again, and then in the future run this function again, and this function will be running on Reaper with its GUI thread, I think, and with that you can see that it is running at 30 Hertz or at each 33 milliseconds. And now let's try to make a really small script that do that schedule a function to the future. I already showed a really small example in my last video about VS Code, and I will start with doing something really similar that it is going to print which track is selected, and if there isn't any track select, it will close the script. Okay, so I already have a print function here, so let's say function loop. You can call it whatever you want, but I will call loop, and I will define some variables as we are using as we will schedule this on the future. We need our variables that we need, the variables that you need to at each loop, they need to be global. So in this case I will say project as a global variable will be 0, and the track index that I want to select will be also 0. And then I can say something like reaper.defer, which is the function that schedule something to the future, will schedule loop. Okay, you don't copy with the parentheses. If you copy it with the parentheses, it would be running this function. We don't want to run it. We just want to say on the next the next schedule you will run the loop function for us. Okay, so this is what this line do. And then you could say something here, just an example, print track index, and it would be what this script on the current state would do. It's get the functions, get the variables, and then it would schedule to the next point to run this, and it would just print 0 and it would finish the script. But as we want to it run on the background, we can say reaper defer loop inside the function that we are scheduling to the future. So the function itself is scheduling itself on the future, so it's constantly running. Okay, so if we try to run this, we'll run from here. It is printing a lot of zeros, as you can see. You can see which functions are running on the background, going to actions, and down here you will see the functions that are running. You can click it to close it. As you can see now, I don't have anything running. Now let me go back here. So let's continue. Let's make this reaper.defer be inside a condition so the user can close it. So if item, then reaper defer loop, and print, oops, it's not item, it's the track, right? It's track. If track, print track, and well, there is no track, but let's create it. Local track. equals to get selected track to project would be 0, select track index will be 0, so and what mount master false. Okay, this for this script we don't really need this global variable. You could just pass 0 here, but in other cases, let's say that you wanted the user to set it, but this is just a small example. So okay, so I just showing that you need to have these global variables. Okay, so this should be printing track until there is no track selected. I will save it and run it. So it's printing selected track, as you can see. If I unselect all, now it's not printing anything. So now let's put a message when the script close. You could do something like this, else print closing. It would work, but there is another function in Reaper that I like to use because you can close the script in other forms, like closing Reaper itself. And you could say reaper.addExit reaper.addExit, and here you pass the function that you want to run. I will say exit, and I will create a function called exit. Print I'm closing or closing script. Okay, now if I run this, it's printing, and if I unselect all, it will run at exit. What at exit do is basically schedule a function to be run whenever the script stop to be scheduled or stop to run. Whenever it exits. So this is just scheduling this function here. Okay, so we saw how we can print things with a def loop. Okay, now that we saw the basic of how work a def loop, let's try to make a really basic script. What this will do is whenever I play through here, the start of this small example, whenever it hits these 4 seconds, which is bar 2, it will jump to this to 8 seconds, which is bar 4. It's just a small example, just to show playheads, changing the playheads with a def loop. So this is the example. Really silly. And then it will jump to here. Really silly. But okay, let's try to do this. Let me open his. And I can project 0, track, we don't need this. And we can erase all of this. Okay, so what we're going to do is first get the state. And by the state, I mean if it is playing or not. So get play state, and we want the project, which will be 0, and we also want the position it's playing. With this we get position equals to get play position 2. Okay, so this will return position. And if you go to that famous website, let me get the famous website here. It's running because it's famous. You can look for get play state X. Okay, here. So if it's 1, it will be playing. If it's 2, it's paused. 4 is recording. Okay. So now can go here and we say if state is equal to 1 or state is equals to 4 if it is running, sorry, it's recording. So this is just checking it's playing or is recording. Then, sorry, and position is bigger than, what is the position that we want? Okay, so it's 4 seconds. Then let me put here, start position is 4 seconds and end position is 8 seconds. 8. This all needs to be global because it's running, we need to assess this every loop. Of course, for this example, you could make local and just put inside the loop. But if the user wants to change it as like a user config area, then sometimes you need to put these variables globally. Okay, so this needs to be true, and this thing will need to be true, which is if position is bigger or equal to the start position. Then, so if the play position is bigger than 4, it will change the cursor position. So if this we use set edit cur pose to, which wants the project, where it will go, so end position. We're gonna change the view, okay, and we're gonna seek the play, of course, true. And okay, this will change the position if the conditions passes, but if the condition don't pass, we just gonna reaper.defer loop. So it will be keep checking, oh, the position check, the position check it, and once it passes, it will close the script. Because if you don't want to close the script, you could put here, but you would need to change, for example, the start needs to change the start position, else it would be stuck playing the same thing. I will try this later just for fun. Okay, let me go back to the start. Let me run this. Let's see if it's working. Okay, we did it. Let me do this thing that I said. This will be strange, but I like strange. So let's run this. Go back to the start. Yeah. And now we need to close this script. So if you like that sound, do this strange thing. But you could just update the start position to be whatever value, for example, 10. And put the reaper.defer again. Try to think what this will do. Oh, save and run. Okay. So just to demonstrate, as the defer loop is at each 33 milliseconds for things like changing the playhead, it's not always the best solution. Sometimes it's good to look for on Reaper for the smooth seek. In this case, it would be really great to have a smooth seek and do some algorithm with it, checking and trying to change the playhead before you need it, so the sound would be even greater. You can see here, if this is other example, which is just a bass drum playing, that you hear some glitches. For example, here you will hear this note, even though we shouldn't hear. If this check was really perfect at this exact position or a little before, it would change to here. But of course we are not in a perfect world. let me erase this. Okay, let's run this just to show. Oh, it wasn't running. It's running now. Yeah. Okay, you might have heard that because it triggered this note and this note really close. But sometimes you can get away with that. Okay, so these are some examples that what you can do with a defer loop. And in the next video, we're gonna start to make our first user interface. And for that, we're gonna need to know these basics of defer loops. Okay, bye.